I woke at 2:47 in the morning to a light I didn't recognize. Not the alarm clock. That was dark for another 43 minutes. Not the moon through the curtains. This was closer, brighter. Linda's phone lit up on the nightstand between us. My eyes adjusted. I could read the message plain as day. Can't wait till he's gone. Tuesday at the usual. B. My hands started shaking under the quilt. The kind of shake that comes from somewhere deep, not from the cold, though the room was cold enough. The radiator ticked and hissed. Wind pushed against the old siding. 44 years we'd been lying in this bed. 44 years her phone had sat on that nightstand. I'd never looked at it before. Never had a reason to. Linda shifted beside me, reached for the phone in her sleep, pulled it under her pillow. I lay there in the dark, listening to my heart trying to break through my ribs. The alarm went off at 3:30 like it had every morning for 43 years. I was already awake. Had been since the phone lit up. Linda stirred, silenced the alarm, got up without a word. I heard her feet on the bathroom tile, heard the door close, heard the shower start. I got dressed in the dark. Jeans, flannel shirt, wool socks, boots by the door. My hands still weren't steady. I made coffee in the kitchen, standing at the counter while it brewed, watching the sky through the window. Nothing out there yet. Wouldn't be light for 2 hours. Made 2 cups from habit, set them both on the table, stared at the second one till the coffee went cold. Linda came down at 5:30, same as always. Hair dried, makeup on, new perfume. I'd noticed that a month back, maybe 2, told myself it was nothing. Women change perfumes. They get tired of smells. She made my eggs without asking. 2 over easy, toast on the side. Set the plate in front of me, poured herself coffee from the pot I'd already made. Sat across from me at the table we'd bought in 1981. Sleep all right? She asked. I looked at her face. Same face I'd looked at on our wedding day. Same face that had held our daughter when she was born. Same face across 1,000 breakfast tables. Fine, I said. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Just sipped her coffee. Looked at her phone. Always that phone now. When had that started? September, maybe. October. I've got a dentist appointment today, she said. Springfield, might be late getting back. Her teeth were perfect. I'd paid for her dental work in 1987 when she needed a crown. Nothing since then. Not a cavity. All right, I said. She got up, took her cup to the sink, rinsed it, walked upstairs without another word. I heard her moving around up there. Heard her come back down 10 minutes later, car keys jingling. See you tonight, she called from the front door. The door closed. Her car started. Gravel crunched as she backed out of the driveway. I sat there with my eggs going cold. Tyler's truck pulled up outside at 6, my grandson, 24 years old, fresh back from ag college, come home to learn the family business. The elevator had been in our family since 1947. My grandfather cleared the land, my father built it up. I'd run it for 43 years. Tyler was supposed to be next. His horn honked. 2 short taps. Our signal. I left the eggs on the plate, put my coat on, walked out into the cold. The grain elevator stood 6 stories tall against the dark sky. Corrugated steel, painted white but gone gray over the years. The augers hummed when we fired them up. Tyler already had the office lights on, coffee brewing in the pot we kept on the filing cabinet. Morning, Grandpa, he said. He had his laptop out, going through invoices. Kid understood computers better than I ever would, but he wanted to learn the old ways too. Wanted to know how to grade wheat by hand, how to feel moisture content in a grain sample without a meter. Made me proud. Made me sick, thinking about what I'd seen on that phone. Got 2 farmers coming in with loads this morning, Tyler said. Jenkins and Morrison? Morrison's early wheat. Wants to know if we can store it till spring prices. We can do that, I said. My voice sounded normal. Felt like somebody else was using it. Tyler looked at me. You all right? You seem off. Didn't sleep well. Grandma keeping you up? He grinned. I turned away, walked to the window, watched the sky start to lighten. Gray first, then that deep blue that comes before dawn. Hey, Grandpa, what's Tri-State Equipment Supply? I turned back. What? Got an invoice here. $47,000 for equipment repair. Dated September. But I don't remember any repairs in September. He held up the paper. I took it, looked at the signature at the bottom. It looked like mine. Almost. The V was right. The H was close. But the loop on the N, I don't make my N's like that. Never have. That's not my signature, I said. Tyler's face changed. You sure? I'm sure. And he pulled out another invoice. Then another. Spread them across the desk. There's 11 more, Grandpa. Same company, different amounts, total of $184,000. My chest went tight. Call that number, see if they answer. Tyler pulled out his phone, dialed, waited. Disconnected, he said. Number's not in service. I picked up my own phone, old flip phone, nothing fancy, and searched for Tri-State Equipment Supply. No business license, no tax records, no website. The company didn't exist. Grandpa? Tyler said quietly. Who has access to the farm accounts? I knew the answer before he asked. Me, your grandmother, and Peterson the accountant. Mr. Peterson died in August. We stood there, in the grain elevator office, surrounded by 75 years of family work, looking at invoices that added up to a number I couldn't comprehend. Outside, Jenkins's truck pulled into the lot, headlights cutting through the early morning fog. Tyler's phone buzzed. He looked at it, smiled. His girlfriend Amy, probably. Young love. The kind where phones mean something good, where messages make you happy instead of making your hands shake at 2:47 in the morning. I walked to the office door, looked back at those invoices spread across the desk. Don't mention this to your grandmother yet, I said. Tyler's face went hard. 24 years old, but in that moment, he looked like a man. Grandpa. Not yet, I said. Let me figure this out first. But I already knew. Somewhere deep, where knowing hurts worst, I already knew. I told Tyler to handle the farmers. Told him I had errands in town. Wasn't exactly a lie. I had things I needed to see. The Main Street Diner opened at 5. I'd driven past it 10,000 times in 43 years. Never stopped in. Always made my own coffee at home. Carried it to the elevator in a thermos. But this morning, I needed to be somewhere Linda wasn't. Somewhere I could think. Mavis Kowalski owned the place. Had for 30 years, maybe more. She was at the counter when I walked in. Crossword puzzles spread out in front of her, pen in hand. 3 farmers sat in a booth by the window, talking grain prices. They nodded when I came in. I nodded back. Vernon Hastings, Mavis said. Don't think I've ever seen you sit down in here. First time for everything. She poured coffee without asking. Black, no sugar. Set it in front of me at the counter. The coffee was better than mine. I didn't want to admit that, but it was. You look like you haven't slept, she said. I didn't answer. Just drank the coffee, felt it burn going down. Mavis went back to her crossword. Didn't push. That was the thing about small-town people. They knew when to ask and when to just be there. The farmers left. The diner went quiet except for the coffee pot burbling on the burner. Mavis refilled my cup. My daddy owned a farm, she said. Wasn't talking to me exactly, just talking. Lost it in 1987. Scheme real similar to what I've been watching happen to you. My head came up. What? She slid a manila envelope across the counter. Brown, thick, the kind you use for important papers. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons since September 12th, she said. Main Street Motel, your wife's car, BMW with out-of-state plates. 23 visits I documented. Dates, times, receipts from the motel clerk. She's my second cousin. Even got a photo, accidental-like, when I was testing my new phone camera. I stared at the envelope. Couldn't touch it. If I touched it, it became real. My daddy sat in his truck all night in a snowstorm, Mavis said. February 87. Sat there, trying to decide what to do about the men who were stealing his farm. By morning, the papers were signed. He died 6 months later. Wasn't cancer that killed him. Was a broken heart. She went back to her crossword, gave me space. I opened the envelope. The documentation was meticulous. Every Tuesday and Thursday since September 12th, motel receipts with dates and times, 2:00 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., consistent. Linda's car in the parking lot, time-stamped photos. The BMW, closer shots showing the license plate, Oklahoma tags, and one photo, slightly blurred, of Linda and a man walking into room 14. The man was younger, maybe 45, fit, the kind of guy who spends time at the gym, wants everyone to know it. I closed the envelope. Why didn't you tell me sooner? My voice came out rougher than I meant. Because men like my daddy, men like you need to see it yourself. If I'd just told you, you'd have made excuses for her, rationalized. That's what good men do. They want to believe the best. She was right. I would have. The BMW's registered to Blake Hutchins, Mavis said. Looked him up. He's a real estate developer. Commercial properties. Specializes in rural acquisitions. Rural acquisitions. That's what they called it now. When my grandfather cleared this land with mules, they just called it farming. I stood up, pulled out my wallet. Coffee's on me, Mavis said. You come back when you need to. I'm here every morning at 5. I didn't go back to the elevator. Drove to the Main Street Motel instead. It was 10 in the morning. Linda had said, Springfield dentist appointment. Said she'd be late. The BMW was in the lot. Parked in front of room 14. Same room for Mavis's photos. I sat in my truck across the street, waited. Didn't know what I was waiting for. To see them come out together, to confirm what I already knew. My phone rang. Linda. Hey, she said. Just wanted to let you know I'm going to be later than I thought. Dentist is running behind. Through my windshield, I could see room 14. Curtains drawn. BMW parked out front. That's fine, I said. You sound tired. You feeling okay? I'm fine. She hung up. I sat there holding the phone. 44 years, 2 daughters raised, 3 grandchildren, a mortgage we'd paid off in 1998, anniversary dinners at the steakhouse in Springfield, Christmas mornings, hospital waiting rooms, funerals for both our parents. All of it sitting next to that BMW with Oklahoma plates. I drove home. Linda kept her purse in the hall closet, spare one she used for church. I found Blake Hutchins' business card in the side pocket. Professional expensive cardstock. Blake Hutchins, commercial real estate development, rural property acquisition specialist. And under that, in smaller letters, turning heritage into opportunity. My grandfather's heritage. My father's opportunity. My life's work. I pulled out my phone, searched Blake Hutchins online. His website showed completed projects. Grain elevators demolished, replaced with strip malls, family farms turned into apartment complexes. Small town properties revitalized into commercial developments. Every photo showed Blake in a hard hat, smiling, holding a shovel. I found a property listing dated November 14th. Future development site, prime commercial location. The address was mine. The grain elevator, my grandfather's elevator. The listing showed an architectural rendering. My elevator was gone. In its place, a parking lot, chain stores, a bank branch, estimated value $2.1 million. I sat on the couch in the living room, the same couch where I'd held my daughters when they were babies, where Linda used to curl up next to me on Sunday afternoons, reading or just talking. The house was quiet. Outside, the wind picked up. Snow started falling, the first real snow of winter. My phone buzzed. Tyler, Grandpa, you need to come back to the elevator. I found something else. What? Just come, please. I drove back through the snow. Tyler was in the office, laptop open, papers everywhere. I called the bank, he said, about those invoices. They said we've been making payments on equipment loans for 6 months. $184,000 in debt. Payments current. I never authorized any loans. I know, but someone's been making the payments from our operating account. The bank says if the debt isn't resolved, foreclosure proceedings start March 1st, 60 days. Who's been making the payments? I asked. Tyler's face told me the answer before he said it. The account only has 3 authorized users, Grandpa. You, Grandma, and Mr. Peterson. And Mr. Peterson's been dead since August. The snow fell harder outside. I could hear it hitting the office windows, could hear the wind rattling the old elevator walls. Tyler stood there, 24 years old, his whole future tied to this building, watching his grandfather's world fall apart. What do we do? He asked. I didn't have an answer. We spread everything across the office desk. Mavis's envelope on the left, Tyler's bank documents in the middle, Blake Hutchins' business card and property listing on the right. Tyler had organized it all like a grain inventory. Dates, amounts, cross-references. His Edge College training showing through. The kid knew how to track numbers, spot patterns. September 12th, he said, pointing to Mavis's first documented motel visit. Same day the first invoice appears. September 15th, the loan gets established at the bank, all within 3 days. Peterson died August 23rd, I said. Tyler nodded. And Grandma started having access to the account solo right after the funeral. You were too torn up to deal with paperwork, remember? She said she'd handle it. I remembered. Peterson had been our accountant for 20 years. Heart attack took him fast. Linda had stepped in, said she'd keep the books until we found someone new, said she wanted to help. She'd helped, all right. There's more, Tyler said. He pulled up something on his laptop. Blake Hutchins has 3 prior projects in Oklahoma. All grain elevators or family farms. All elderly owners. I found property records. Every single one sold under distress. Foreclosure, debt, sudden financial crisis. He turned the laptop toward me. 3 properties, 3 families, 3 demolished buildings replaced by commercial development. How'd you find this? Public records. Took me 2 hours. He clicked to another page. And Grandpa, one of the families filed a lawsuit, said the debt was fraudulent, case got dismissed, insufficient evidence. But the complaint document is still online. They described the exact same pattern. Forged signatures, fake companies, mysterious loans. My hands were shaking again. I pressed them flat on the desk. The office door opened. Mavis walked in, carrying a coffee urn and a bag from the diner. Figured you boys hadn't eaten, she said. Set down sandwiches, poured coffee into paper cups, and before you ask, yes, I closed the diner for 30 minutes. This is more important. She pulled up a chair, sat down like she'd been part of this investigation from the start. Maybe she had been. My daddy's situation in '87, she said. Man named Curtis Webb. Showed up with development plans, friendly as could be. 3 months later, Daddy had debt he'd never authorized. Tried to fight it. Bank said the signatures were his. No proof they weren't. Lost everything. Did Webb go to prison? Tyler asked. Disappeared before charges could be filed. Probably did it to someone else somewhere else. She looked at me. But this Blake Hutchins, he's not as careful as Curtis Webb was. He's got a pattern, a trail, and he's got people who've tried to stop him before. She pulled out her phone, showed me a news article from 2021. Oklahoma man testifies in fraud case. The article was brief. A developer named Blake Hutchins had been accused of targeting rural properties. Case went to trial. Hutchins was convicted, served 2 years. He's done this before, I said. Successfully. 3 times we know of, Mavis said. Maybe more. The phone on the desk rang. The office line. I picked it up. Mr. Hastings, this is Tom Aldridge at First National. Tom. We'd been in high school together. Chemistry lab partners. He'd become bank president 15 years back. Tom, I said. Vernon, I'm looking at your account right now. There's a loan here I don't remember approving. Equipment purchases. $184,000. I didn't authorize that loan. Silence on the line. Then, the signature looks like yours. It's not mine. More silence. Vernon, if that's true, we need to document this immediately. But I have to tell you, the loan is real, the payments have been made for 6 months, and there's a default timeline. If the debt isn't resolved or proven fraudulent within 60 days, the bank is obligated to begin foreclosure proceedings. On what? On the collateral. The property at 1847 County Road, 12, your grain elevator. My grandfather's elevator, my father's elevator, my elevator, Tyler's future. Tom, that signature isn't mine. Then we need to prove it. Bring in signature samples, I'll start an internal investigation. But Vernon, 60 days. That's all the time we have. He hung up. I set the phone down. Tyler and Mavis were both watching me. 60 days, I said. Tyler's jaw tightened. We'll prove it. We'll get a handwriting expert, show the bank. And in the meantime? I stood up, walked to the window. Snow was coming down heavy now, the kind of snow that buried things. In the meantime, they've got 6 months of payments establishing legitimacy. They've got my wife with account access. They've got a developer with a history of making this work. And I could see it now, the whole picture. Linda and Blake at the motel, planning. The affair was just part of it. Maybe it started with attraction. Maybe it was calculated from the beginning. Didn't matter. What mattered was Blake had found a woman with access, with resentment, with 44 years of reasons to want something different. And he'd found property worth $2 million. Grandpa, Tyler said, we're not letting them take this. I looked at him, 24 years old, his whole life ahead of him, the 5th generation of Hastings, who was supposed to run this elevator. No, I said, we're not. Outside, the snow fell harder. I grabbed my coat. Where are you going? Tyler asked. Home. I need to see something. I drove back through the storm. The roads were already slick. Took me twice as long as usual. By the time I pulled into the driveway, Linda's car was there. She was home early. I sat in the truck, engine running, heater blasting, stared at our house. 44 years we'd lived there. Raised our girls there, celebrated and grieved there. I couldn't go inside. Couldn't sit across from her at dinner, pretend everything was normal. Couldn't lie in bed tonight, knowing what I knew. I put the truck in reverse, backed out of the driveway, drove back to the elevator, parked in the lot. Tyler's truck was gone. He'd gone home to his apartment, probably. To Amy, to his normal life. I sat there as the snow piled up on the windshield. The elevator loomed beside me, dark against the storm. 6 stories of corrugated steel, 75 years of family work, worth $2 million to a man who'd never swung a hammer, never graded a bushel of wheat, never stood in this lot at 4 a.m., wondering if the spring wheat would come in strong enough to make payroll. My breath fogged the windows. The cold seeped in around the door seals. I didn't start the engine, just sat there in the dark, in the cold, while the snow buried me. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for the windows to ice over on the inside. Long enough for my fingers to go numb, even in my gloves. Long enough to watch the snow pile up on the hood until I couldn't see past it. The truck cab felt smaller with every minute. The world outside disappeared into white. Just me in the cold, and 75 years of family history sitting 6 stories tall beside me, about to be demolished for a parking lot. I thought about my grandfather. He'd cleared this land in 1923 with a team of mules. Took him 4 years to save enough money to build the elevator. My father was 10 years old when they poured the foundation. Told me once he'd carried water to the work crew. Felt like the most important job in the world. My father died in this elevator. Heart attack at 63, right there in the office where Tyler had been working this morning. I'd found him slumped over the desk, ledger book still open under his hand. Didn't seem right that it would end with forged out signatures and a man in a BMW. Someone knocked on the window. I wiped the fog away. Mavis stood there in the blizzard, holding a paper coffee cup. No coat, just her diner apron and a cardigan. I unlocked the door. She opened it, handed me the coffee. You planning to freeze to death out here? Hadn't decided yet. My daddy sat in a truck like this. February '87, during that ice storm, sat all night. By morning it was too late to fight. They'd already won. She stood there in the snow, not getting in, not leaving. Some things aren't worth saving, Vernon. Bad marriages, lies, pretense, but a man's dignity, that's worth fighting for. And that elevator, that's not just property, that's proof you existed. That your people existed. I don't know how to fight this. Yes, you do. You've just forgotten. She put something on the passenger seat, another envelope. This is everything I have. Dates, times, photos, receipts, your wife and Blake Hutchins, 23 meetings. You want to save that elevator, you're going to need ammunition. This is part of it. She walked back toward the diner, disappearing into the snow. I opened the envelope, looked at the documentation again. This time I didn't just see evidence of betrayal. I saw timeline, pattern, proof of conspiracy. The passenger door opened. A man climbed in, shaking snow off his coat. Older, thin, face I hadn't seen in 30 years. Hello, Vernon, my brother Dale. Hadn't spoken to him since our father's funeral in 1995. We'd fought over the will. Dad left me the elevator, left Dale cash. Dale said it wasn't fair, said I'd manipulated the old man, said things you can't take back. He'd moved to Oklahoma. I'd stayed here. That was the end of it. What are you doing here? I asked. Tyler called me, told me what's happening. He held up his phone. Told me about Blake Hutchins. You drove up from Oklahoma in a blizzard? I was already driving. Been on the road 2 days. He coughed, a wet sound that rattled in his chest. Got 6 months to live, maybe. Lung cancer, stage 4. Came back to make things right before I go. We sat there in silence. Two brothers who hadn't spoken in 30 years, sitting in a frozen truck while snow buried the family business. I know Blake Hutchins, Dale said. What? He ran a scheme in Oklahoma, 2021. Tried to take my neighbor's cattle ranch. 3,000 acres, been in the family since 1889. Same pattern, fake debt, forged signatures, development plans. My neighbor was 76 years old, didn't know how to fight it. What happened? I testified. Had documentation of Blake's prior fraud convictions, Kansas 2017, Missouri 2019. Both times he targeted rural properties, elderly owners. Got probation in Kansas, 2 years in Missouri. Served 18 months. Dale pulled out his phone, showed me court documents. Judge threw the book at him in Oklahoma, called him a predator, banned him from real estate development for 5 years. That was 2021. 4 years ago. His ban's almost up. Dale scrolled through more documents. He's been careful since then, quieter, but the pattern's the same. Finds a vulnerable property, finds a way in, usually through a spouse or family member, creates fake debt, forces a sale, flips it for commercial development. I stared at the documents. Blake's mugshot from the Missouri arrest. Court testimony, victim statements, 7 known victims across 3 states. Why didn't they put him away for good? Rich folks got good lawyers. Small-town elderly folks don't fight hard enough. They're ashamed, embarrassed, don't want their neighbors knowing they got fooled. Dale looked at me. You going to let that happen to you? Linda's involved. She's been making payments, forging signatures. If I fight this, your marriage is already over, Vernon. You know that. Question is whether you lose your marriage and your land, or just your marriage. He was right. I knew it. Had known it since 2:47 this morning. Why'd you really come back? I asked. Dale was quiet for a moment. Because I'm dying, and I spent 30 years being angry about a grain elevator I never wanted to run anyway. You were the one who loved this place. Dad knew that. I was just too proud to admit it. He coughed again. And because Blake Hutchins is the kind of man who needs to be stopped. I stopped him once. Figure I can do it again before I go. I don't even know where to start. Yes, you do. You start by going to the sheriff. You file a fraud report. You get a forensic accountant to analyze those invoices. You get a handwriting expert to compare signatures. And you stop sitting in a truck in a snowstorm feeling sorry for yourself. He was right about that, too. My phone buzzed. Linda, where are you? Dinner's ready. I stared at the text. Dinner's ready. Like it was a normal Tuesday. Like she hadn't spent the afternoon in room 14 at the Main Street Motel. Like she wasn't systematically stealing everything my grandfather built. I typed back, working late. Don't wait up. Dale watched me. You going home tonight? Can't. If I go home, I'll either say something or I won't. Either way, it'll show. Then you're coming with me. I got a room at the motel in town, not the Main Street one, the other one out by the highway. We drove through the storm in Dale's truck, Oklahoma plates covered in snow. The motel was cheap, but clean. Dale had already been there 2 days, he said, waiting to work up the courage to knock on my door. In his room, he had papers spread across the bed. court documents, property records, photos of demolished grain elevators and family farms, a map with 7 locations marked in red. This is Blake's pattern, Dale said. Every property, every victim. I've been tracking him since Oklahoma, waiting for him to surface again. Why? Because men like him don't stop, they just move. Find new territory, new victims. He handed me a folder. This is everything the court didn't see in Oklahoma, everything I've collected since. Bank records I shouldn't have, photos from a private investigator, testimony from 2 victims who were too scared to testify in court. You've been investigating him for 3 years? 4, since I knew I was dying. Figured I'd spend my last months doing something useful. He coughed into his hand. Came away with blood on his palm, wiped it on his jeans like it was nothing. Now he's come from my brother's land. That makes it personal. I sat on the motel bed looking at 4 years of investigation, looking at my brother, who I hadn't spoken to in 30 years, who'd spent his dying months tracking a predator, who'd driven through a blizzard to help me fight. I'm sorry, I said. About the will, about what I said at the funeral. I'm sorry I left. Sorry I wasted 30 years being angry. He sat down next to me. We're brothers. Should have been enough. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, 2 brothers who'd been strangers started planning a war. By morning, Dale had turned the motel room into a command center. Documents taped to the walls, timeline on the mirror, written in dry erase marker. Photos of Blake from 3 states arranged chronologically. The man got more confident with each scheme. Early photos showed him nervous, looking over his shoulder. Recent ones, arrogant, smiling at the camera. Tyler showed up at 7 with his laptop and a box of donuts. Didn't ask questions, just started cross-referencing Dale's Oklahoma evidence with our Illinois situation. Same fake company name in Kansas, Tyler said. Tri-State Equipment Supply. He's not even creative. Uses it every time. Means he's got templates, Dale said. Forms already drawn up. Just changes the names and dates. Makes him sloppy, Tyler added. Patterns are easy to prove. By 9 a.m., we had enough to take to the sheriff. Dale drove us to the county building. Sheriff Brad Morrison had been in office 12 years. Fair man, honest. His wife had left him 2 years back for a pharmaceutical rep from Des Moines. He understood betrayal. Morrison listened to everything, looked at the evidence, made notes. This is federal fraud, he said when we finished. But I can start with local charges. Forgery, theft by deception. Give me 24 hours. I'll run Blake Hutchins through the system, contact the Oklahoma and Kansas authorities, see what kind of warrants are outstanding. What about Linda? I asked. Morrison's face softened. That's harder. She's an accomplice, but proving she knew it was fraud, that takes more evidence. Did she sign anything? Just the payment authorizations at the bank. I could argue she thought they were legitimate. Was following her husband's instructions. He closed his folder, but we'll see what we find. We went back to the grain elevator. Tyler had work to do. 3 farmers were coming in with winter wheat. Dale and I sat in the office waiting. My phone rang at noon. Tom Aldridge from the bank. Vernon, I've been looking at those signatures. You're right, they're not yours. Close, but not quite. The way you form your H is different. The spacing is off. Well, what does that mean? Means I can halt the foreclosure proceedings while we investigate. Buy you maybe 90 days. But Vernon, someone's been making payments from your account for 6 months. That money's gone. $112,000 total. Even if we prove fraud, recovering those funds will take years. $112,000. Our operating capital, the buffer we kept for bad harvest years, gone. Who authorized the payments? I asked. Tom was quiet. Account records show Linda's login credentials. Every transaction. I hung up. Dale watched me from across the desk. What now? Now I have to go home. Have to face her. Can't keep avoiding it. You sure you're ready? I wasn't. But ready didn't matter anymore. I pulled into the driveway. At 1 p.m., Linda's car was there. She'd be in the kitchen, probably. Making lunch. Acting like everything was normal. I sat in the truck. Couldn't make myself go inside. What would I say? What does a man say to a woman he's been married to for 44 years when he finds out she's been stealing from him? When she's been lying in a motel room with another man, planning to take everything his grandfather built? My phone buzzed. Linda, are you coming in for lunch? I looked at the house. Saw her shadow pass by the kitchen window. Couldn't do it. Not yet. I backed out of the driveway, drove to the elevator, parked in the lot. Tyler was loading grain. Dale was in the office on the phone with someone in Oklahoma. I sat in the truck. The passenger door opened. Mavis climbed in. You look worse than yesterday, she said. Feel worse. She handed me a folder. County Prosecutor Ellen Nash, she's Tom's daughter-in-law, handles fraud cases. I called her, told her the basics. She wants to meet you. Said Blake Hutchins scammed her cousin in Oklahoma, Cattle Ranch, 2021. She's been wanting to nail him for 3 years. Everyone wants to nail him. No one has. Because the victims gave up, got embarrassed, walked away. Mavis looked at me hard. You gonna give up, Vernon? I thought about my grandfather with his mules, my father carrying water to the work crew, Tyler, 24 years old, learning to grade wheat by hand because he wanted to honor the old ways. No, I said. Good. Ellen can meet you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring everything. And she got out, walked back to the diner. I sat there in the truck, snow melting off the windshield now. The storm had passed, sky was clearing. Through the office window, I could see Dale on the phone, Tyler at his laptop. 2 generations working to save the middle one. My phone buzzed again. Linda. Where are you? I didn't answer. Tomorrow I'd meet the prosecutor. Tomorrow I'd start fighting back. Today, I just needed to not fall apart. I started the engine, drove to the motel where Dale was staying, knocked on his door. I need a place to stay tonight, I said. He stepped aside, let me in. On the bed was one more document, a prenuptial agreement, dated June 1979, signed by me and Linda. My father had insisted on it. Linda had laughed, signed it anyway. Said she didn't care about paper, she loved me. I'd forgotten it existed. Dale had found it in the county records that morning. I picked it up, read the clause on page 3. In the event of fraud, adultery, or theft by either party, all property rights revert to the non-offending party. The offending party receives no assets from the marriage. My father's voice in my head. Son, paper protects what love can't. Ellen Nash had her grandfather's jaw, and her father-in-law's attention to detail. 42 years old, county prosecutor for 8 years, and she looked at Blake Hutchins' file like a woman who'd been waiting for this moment. My cousin lost his cattle ranch, she said. 3,000 acres. Been in the family since 1889. Blake Hutchins walked away with $2 million. My cousin hanged himself in his barn 6 months later. The office went quiet. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be sorry. Be ready to fight. She spread our evidence across her desk. This is good. Better than good. Dale's Oklahoma documentation gives us pattern. Your bank records give us method. Mavis's motel documentation gives us conspiracy. The prenup gives us leverage. What about Linda? I asked. Ellen's face hardened. Your wife made $112,000 in fraudulent payments over 6 months. Used your business account. That's theft. That's fraud. She's looking at 5 to 10 years if we prosecute fully. 5 to 10 years. The mother of my children. The woman who'd held my hand through my father's funeral. But, Ellen continued, if she cooperates, testifies against Blake, returns whatever money she still has access to, we could offer a deal. Probation, restitution, no jail time. I don't want her to go to jail, I said. I just want my land secure. Ellen nodded. Then we focus on Blake. He's the predator. She's the accomplice. We can work with that. Sheriff Morrison came in, dropped another file on the desk. Blake Hutchins has active warrants in 2 states. Kansas wants him for fraud. Missouri wants him for parole violation. He was supposed to check in monthly, hasn't in 8 months. Oklahoma's prosecutor is chomping at the bit, says Dale's new evidence could reopen their case. How many victims total? Dale asked. 7 confirmed, 3 lost their properties, 4 fought him off. Morrison looked at me. You'd be number 8. Could be the one who finally puts him away for good. Tyler leaned forward. What do we do? Ellen tapped her pen on the desk. We set a meeting. All parties present. Vernon, Blake, Linda. We present the evidence. We make an offer. Blake signs a quitclaim deed, returns all claim to the property, leaves the state permanently. Linda signs divorce papers with the prenup clause activated. She gets nothing. Both sign confessions to fraud. And if they refuse, we arrest Blake on the spot. Outstanding warrants give us probable cause. Linda becomes a co-defendant. Both face federal charges. 3 states coordinating prosecution. She smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Blake's looking at 15 to 20 years. Linda's looking at 5 to 10. They'll take the deal. When? I asked. How fast can you be ready? I looked at Dale. He nodded. Looked at Tyler. He nodded. 2 days, I said. That afternoon, Tom Aldridge met us at the bank. He'd analyzed the signatures, had them ready for court presentation. These aren't even good forgeries, he said. Vernon, you make your capital H with a specific loop. See? He showed me 3 decades of my real signatures from bank documents. Whoever forged these didn't study your hand. They just copied quick. Linda watched me sign papers for 44 years, I said. Not closely enough. Tom closed the folder. I'm halting all foreclosure proceedings, flagging the account for fraud investigation. The debt is suspended pending resolution. What about the $112,000? If we prove fraud, the bank eats the loss, not you. Insurance covers it. But Vernon, I need you to know that Linda can't access the accounts anymore. I've frozen her credentials. If she tries to log in, We'll know. If she tries to withdraw cash, we'll know. She's got $14,000 in cash she already took out. Probably gave it to Blake. We'll add it to the restitution list. I drove back to the motel. Dale was on the phone with the Oklahoma prosecutor. Tyler was making calls to farmers, letting them know the elevator would be closed Friday morning for maintenance. Didn't want witnesses. Mavis showed up at 6 with dinner. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, comfort food. How you holding up? She asked. I don't know yet. She patted my shoulder. My daddy used to say the worst part of a storm is waiting for it to hit. Once it hits, you're too busy surviving to be scared. The storm was coming Friday morning, 9 a.m., my farm office. All parties present. I still hadn't gone home, still hadn't faced Linda. She'd been calling, texting, asking where I was, if I was okay, playing the concerned wife. I texted back, working on something, need a few days. She responded immediately, is everything all right? Will be soon. I turned off my phone. Dale looked up from his papers. You ready for this? No? Good. Men who think they're ready make mistakes. He went back to his documents. Tyler kept making calls. Mavis cleaned up the dinner plates. I sat on the motel bed, looking at the prenup my father had made me sign 44 years ago. The paper was yellowed, the ink faded, but the words were clear. All property reverts to the non-offending party. My father had known, maybe not specifically, but he'd known some things needed protection. Outside, the sun set, the sky cleared. Stars came out, hard and bright in the winter cold. Tomorrow I'd call Linda. Tell her Blake wanted to meet about finalizing the property sale. Tell her to be at the farm office Friday morning at 9. She'd come. Of course she'd come. She thought she was winning. Thursday morning I called Linda. Vernon, where have you been? I've been worried sick. Had some business to handle. Listen, Blake Hutchins wants to meet tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. at the farm office. About finalizing the property details, he said you should be there. Silence on the line. Then, Blake wants to meet? How do you know Blake? Met him through the bank stuff. The equipment loans. He's been helping sort things out. I could almost hear her thinking, calculating, trying to figure out what I knew. Okay, she said finally. I'll be there. 9 a.m. Don't be late. I hung up before she could ask more questions. Dale was watching me from across the motel room. You're getting good at lying. Learn from the best. Friday morning started dark and cold. Stars still out at 5 a.m. when I got to the grain elevator. Tyler was already there, setting up the office. We moved chairs around. Vernon's desk in the center. 2 chairs opposite for Blake and Linda. Chairs along the wall for witnesses. Sheriff Morrison arrived at 7 with recording equipment. Set up a digital recorder on the desk, explained the legality. Illinois is a one-party consent state, he said. As long as one person in the room knows it's being recorded, it's admissible. You know, that's enough. Ellen Nash came at 7:30 with a briefcase full of documents. Quitclaim deed, divorce papers, fraud confessions, all ready for signatures. Remember, she said, we present the evidence first. Let them see what we have, give them time to understand they're caught, then we offer the deal. Blake signs away all property claims and leaves Illinois. Linda signs the divorce with prenup terms. She gets nothing. Both confess to fraud. In exchange, reduced charges, possibly probation instead of prison. And if they refuse? Morrison touched his hip, his service weapon. Blake has active warrants. I arrest him the second he refuses. Linda becomes a co-defendant. Both go to jail today. Mavis arrived at 8 with coffee. Set up a full urn in the corner, paper cups, sugar, creamer. Like this was a church meeting instead of an ambush. Dale positioned himself by the window. He'd lost 10 pounds since I'd seen him 3 days ago. The cancer eating him from inside, but his eyes were sharp, focused. Tom Aldridge came at 8:30, brought the signature analysis, brought bank records going back 6 months, brought his 40 years of knowing my handwriting. At 8:45, everyone was in position. Tyler stood by the door. Grandpa, Grandma's car just pulled up. My chest tightened. Blake's right behind her, Tyler added. BMW. Through the window, I watched them meet in the parking lot. Linda said something to Blake. He laughed, touched her arm, confident, like they'd already won. They walked toward the office together. Dale moved away from the window. Morrison checked his recorder. Ellen arranged her papers. Mavis poured coffee. She knew, no one would drink. The door opened. Linda came in first, saw the full room, stopped. Blake pushed past her, saw Sheriff Morrison, saw Ellen Nash in her prosecutor's suit, saw Dale, saw Tom from the bank. His confidence flickered. What is this? Blake asked. Sit down, I said. Linda's face had gone white. Vernon, what's going on? Sit down. They sat. Blake trying to maintain composure, Linda's hands shaking. Morrison stepped forward. Mr. Hutchins, I'm Sheriff Brad Morrison. This conversation is being recorded. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. I know my rights. What am I being accused of? I slid the first folder across the desk. Blake opened it. His face changed. Inside, photos from the Main Street Motel. 23 visits documented. Dates, times, receipts. Linda and Blake entering room 14. Linda saw them. Vernon? Don't, I said. I slid the second folder. Bank records. $112,000 in fraudulent payments. Linda's login credentials on every transaction. Third folder, forged invoices. Tom's signature analysis. Proof they weren't mine. Fourth folder, Blake's criminal history, 3 states, 7 victims. Court documents. Mugshots. Victim testimonies. Blake closed the folder slowly. Fifth folder, property listing. My grain elevator marked for demolition. Blake's development company listed as buyer. That's my family's land, I said. 4 generations. You thought you'd pave it over for a parking lot. Blake leaned back. This is entrapment. This is a voluntary meeting, Ellen Nash said. You can leave anytime, in handcuffs. Linda was crying now. Vernon, please. I can explain. Blake cut her off. Shut up, Linda. She looked at him. Really looked at him, saw what I'd already seen. He didn't love her, never had. She was just a tool. Access to accounts. A way inside. Don't tell me to shut up, Linda said. This was your idea. You said, I said shut up. And there it was, the predator showing his teeth. I slid the last folder across the desk. The prenuptial agreement. 44 years old. Page 3, highlighted. Linda picked it up, read the clause. Her face crumbled. In the event of fraud or adultery, all property reverts to the non-offending party. The offending party receives nothing. She looked at me. You knew about this? My father made me sign it. You signed it too, June 1979. You laughed, said you didn't care about paper. I kept my voice level. Guess paper matters now. Blake was reading over her shoulder. His jaw tightened. Ellen Nash stood. Here's your choice. Mr. Hutchins, you sign a quitclaim deed transferring all property claims to Vernon. You sign a confession to fraud conspiracy. You leave Illinois within 72 hours and never contact the Hastings family again. Mrs. Hastings, you sign divorce papers with the prenup clause activated. You receive no assets from the marriage. You also sign a fraud confession. Do this now and we recommend reduced charges, probation, restitution, possibly no jail time. And if we refuse? Blake asked. Morrison stepped forward. You have active warrants in Kansas and Missouri. I arrest you immediately. Both of you face federal fraud charges, conspiracy, forgery, 3 states coordinating prosecution. Mr. Hutchins, you're looking at 15 to 20 years. Mrs. Hastings, 5 to 10. The office was silent except for the recording equipment humming. Blake looked at the folders spread across the desk, looked at the sheriff, looked at Ellen Nash. He was calculating. I could see it, weighing his options, running the numbers. If I sign, he said, what happens to the fraud charges? Reduced. Likely probation if you comply with all terms and leave the state. What about Linda? Same deal. Linda was still crying, quiet tears running down her face. Not looking at me, not looking at anyone. Blake picked up a pen. Wait, Linda said. Blake, what about what? Linda, you thought this was a romance? You thought we'd run away together? He laughed, bitter, cold. You were a means to an end. Account access, that's all. She stared at him. 44 years of marriage she'd thrown away for a man who'd just called her a means to an end. Blake signed the quitclaim deed, signed the confession, pushed them across the desk. Done. Now let me leave. 72 hours, Morrison said. If you're still in Illinois after that, I arrest you on sight. Blake stood, looked at me. You think you won? I think you're leaving. He walked out. His BMW started. Gravel crunched as he drove away. Linda sat alone in her chair, everyone watching her. Linda, Ellen said gently, it's your turn. Linda looked at the divorce papers, at the prenup, at 44 years, ending on a page. Where am I supposed to go? She whispered. Not my concern, I said. She signed. Her hand shook so bad the signature was barely legible. But it was legal, witnessed, final. She stood, looked at me one last time. I did love you, once. Not enough, I said. She walked out. Her car started, drove away. The office was quiet. Tyler sat down heavily. Dale coughed into his hand. Mavis poured coffee no one wanted. Morrison collected the signed documents. It's over. But it didn't feel over. It felt like standing in the rubble of something that used to be whole. Morrison handed the signed documents to Ellen Nash. She put them in her briefcase, locked it. Official, legal, done. Blake Hutchins leaves Illinois by Monday, she said. If he violates the order we coordinate with Kansas and Missouri, he'll be in custody within 24 hours. As for Linda, she paused. Vernon, she signed the divorce papers. The prenup clause is activated. The house, the land, the grain elevator, all yours. She gets nothing. Where did she go? Tyler asked. Springfield, probably, Mavis said. She mentioned a sister there once, long time ago. Tom Aldridge cleared his throat. The bank will reverse the fraudulent debt by Monday. The $112,000 in payments. Our insurance covers it. Your operating account will be restored. Foreclosure proceedings are permanently dismissed. I nodded. Couldn't speak yet. Dale moved from the window, sat down in the chair Linda had just vacated. He looked gray, tired, like the fight had taken whatever energy he had left. Dale, I said. I'm fine, just need a minute. But he wasn't fine, I could see it. The cancer was winning. Maybe he'd had 6 months when he drove up here. Maybe now it was less. Morrison packed up his recording equipment. I'll file the confessions with the court today. Blake's on our radar now. If he even looks at rural property again, we'll know. What about the other victims, like I asked? The 7 families. Ellen's face softened. I've already contacted them. With Blake's confession and Dale's documentation, we can reopen some of those cases, maybe get restitution, maybe get justice. At minimum, they'll know it wasn't their fault, that they weren't alone. 7 families. 3 lost their land, 4 fought successfully, 1 man hanged himself in his barn. My cousin would have wanted this, Ellen said quietly. Thank you for fighting. They left one by one. Morrison, Ellen, Tom, each one shaking my hand, offering quiet support. Small-town solidarity. The kind that matters when everything else falls apart. Mavis was the last to leave. She hugged me, brief, firm, the kind of hug that says more than words. Coffee's on tomorrow at 5. You know where to find me? Then it was just me, Tyler, and Dale in the office. Tyler stared at the desk where all those folders had been. Is it really over? The legal part is, Dale said. The rest takes longer. What rest? Healing. Moving on, building something new. Dale coughed again. More blood this time. He didn't hide it, just wiped his hand on his jeans. You'll run this elevator now, Tyler. Do it better than your grandpa did. Better than I could have. Make it last another 75 years. Tyler's eyes filled. Uncle Dale? Don't. I'm not dead yet. Still got enough time to teach you the things your grandpa's too stubborn to teach. I almost smiled. Almost. We closed the elevator for the day. Tyler went home to Amy. Needed to see her. Needed normal life after watching his grandmother sign away 44 years. Dale and I drove to the diner. Mavis had left it open for us. Just us. She locked the door behind us, flipped the sign to closed. Eat, she said. Both of you look like death. Dale laughed. I am death. Got about 4 months now, I reckon. Then eat anyway. She brought out pot roast, mashed potatoes, gravy, the kind of meal that says someone cares without having to say it. We ate in silence. The diner was warm, safe. Outside, the sun was setting. End of the longest day. What happens to Linda? Dale asked. Don't know, don't care. But that was a lie. 44 years doesn't disappear just because you sign papers. She made her choice. She did. Doesn't mean you won't grieve it. He was right. I'd grieve. Not for her, for what I thought we had. For the marriage I believed in that turned out to be something else. You did good today, Dale said. Dad would have been proud. Dad would have known sooner, would have seen it coming. Maybe, maybe not. Smart men get fooled by the people they love. That's not weakness, that's trust. Mavis refilled our coffee. My daddy used to say trust is a gift. When someone breaks it, that's on them, not you. We finished eating. Mavis packed up leftovers for us to take. Wouldn't let us pay. You come back tomorrow, she said to me. Regular time, 5 a.m. We'll start a new routine. Dale and I went back to the motel. He was coughing more now. Each breath labored. You should see a doctor, I said. Seen enough doctors. They can't fix this. He sat on the bed, looked at all the papers still taped to the walls. 4 years of investigation. 7 victims tracked. 1 predator stopped. We did good work this week. You did. I just showed up. You fought. That's what mattered. He lay back on the bed. I'm glad I came home. Glad we fixed things before I go. Me too. We sat in silence. Brothers again, after 30 years of being strangers. Vernon? Yeah? When I die, I want to be buried here, next to Dad, if that's all right. My throat tightened. That's all right. Good. He closed his eyes. Wake me if I stop breathing. You'll wake yourself up coughing. He smiled. Probably right. I didn't go home that night either. Couldn't face the empty house. Not yet. Stayed at the motel. Lay in the other bed, listening to Dale's ragged breathing. thinking about everything that had happened in 5 days. Monday morning, I'd woken up married. By Friday afternoon, I was divorced. Monday morning, I'd been 3 weeks from losing the grain elevator. By Friday afternoon, it was secure. Monday morning, my brother was a stranger. By Friday night, he was family again. In 4 months, maybe less, Dale would be gone. The cancer would finish what it started. But for now, he was here. And that had to be enough. My phone buzzed. Tyler. Grandpa, you okay? I'm okay. You need anything? No, go be with Amy. I'll see you Monday. Love you, Grandpa. Love you too, kid. I set the phone down, closed my eyes. Dale's breathing evened out. Sleep, not death, not yet. Outside, stars came out. The same stars that had been there when my grandfather cleared this land. The same stars that would be there when Tyler passed it on to his kids. Some things change. Some things don't. I'd lost a wife, kept a brother, saved a legacy. Tomorrow I'd start figuring out what comes next. Tonight, I just needed to not fall apart. I didn't. Spring came slow that year. March brought mud and cold rain. April brought green shoots in the fields and morning frost that killed them. May finally brought warmth that stayed, sun that meant something. I moved back into the house in late March. It took me 6 weeks to walk through that door. Everything was the same. Same furniture, same dishes in the cabinets, same quilt on the bed Linda and I had shared for 44 years. I slept in the guest room for 2 months. Couldn't bring myself to sleep in our bed. Eventually donated it to Goodwill. Bought a new one. Smaller. Just for me. Linda sent papers through her lawyer. Wanted some of her things. Photo albums. Her mother's china. Clothes. I boxed it all up, had Tyler drive it to Springfield. Didn't want to see her. Didn't trust what I'd say if I did. Tyler told me she was working retail at a department store. Living with her sister in a one-bedroom apartment. Said she looked older, smaller. I didn't ask more than that. Dale moved into the small house on the property in April. The one my grandfather built in 1925 for the hired man. 1 bedroom, kitchen, bathroom. Dale didn't need much, just a place to die that wasn't a motel. The cancer was winning faster now. Some days, he couldn't get out of bed. Other days, he'd walk to the elevator, sit in the office, tell Tyler stories about my father, about me as a kid, about the old days when grain elevators were everywhere and small towns thrived. Your grandpa was always the responsible one, Dale told Tyler one afternoon. I was in the office doorway, listening. I was the wild one, wanted to see the world. Thought this town was too small, too boring. What changed? Tyler asked. I saw the world. Turned out it was just as small, just as boring, just lonelier. Dale coughed. Your grandpa stayed here and built something that mattered. I ran away and built nothing. Took me 30 years and a cancer diagnosis to figure out which of us was smart. Tyler looked at me. I looked away. By late April, Dale was spending 3 days a week in Springfield getting treatment, not to cure anything, just to manage pain, buy time. Tyler drove him most days. They'd stop at the diner on the way back, bring me dinner. Mavis had become a fixture in my life. Every morning at 5, I'd show up at the diner. She'd pour coffee. We'd talk about nothing important. Weather, grain prices, the Johnsons' new grandkid, normal things. Sometimes we wouldn't talk at all. Just sit there in comfortable silence while the sun came up. One morning in May, she slid a newspaper across the counter, article on page 4. Kansas man sentenced to 12 years in fraud scheme. Blake Hutchins. He'd violated the terms of his Illinois agreement. Tried to run another scheme in Nebraska, targeting an 80-year-old widow with farmland. Got caught within 3 weeks. Kansas picked him up on the warrant. Missouri added charges. Nebraska filed new ones. 12 years. Plus the charges from Missouri and Nebraska still pending. Good, Mavis said. Good, I agreed. We drank our coffee. Watched the sun turn the sky pink, then gold, then blue. Tyler took over the elevator operations in March. I stayed on as advisor, but the day-to-day was his now. He was better at it than I'd been at his age. Better with computers, better with farmers, better at seeing how to modernize without losing what made the place special. He and Amy got engaged in April. Small ceremony planned for September, just family and close friends. They wanted Dale to be there, but we all knew he wouldn't make it to September. Do it in June, Dale said when they told him. I'll make June. So they moved the date up, June 15th, at the farm. Simple, the way Tyler wanted it. Amy's parents didn't ask about Linda. Small-town people knew the story by now. Knew better than to bring it up. The church ladies stopped whispering around me by April. Started treating me normal again. Inviting me to potlucks, asking if I needed anything, including me in conversations like I wasn't the man whose wife had tried to steal his land. Mrs. Henderson pulled me aside after service one Sunday. Vernon, I saw what was happening. Saw Linda's car at that motel. Should have said something sooner. I'm sorry. Not your fault, I said. Still, should have spoken up. Appreciate that, She patted my arm, went back to her pew. That was the thing about small towns. People knew your business, judged you for it, but they also rallied around you when you needed them, showed up, bore witness. Dale taught Tyler everything in those last months. How to grade wheat by hand, how to judge moisture content by feel, how to read farmers, how to know when to extend credit and when to demand cash. All the things my father taught me, Dale taught Tyler. I'd watch them from the office window. Dale thin and gray, moving slow. Tyler young and strong, taking notes on his phone but listening with respect. 2 generations passing knowledge that went back to 1947. One afternoon in late May, I walked down to where they were working. Dale was showing Tyler how to splice a broken elevator belt. Your grandpa never could splice worth a damn, Dale said. Always called me to do it. That's because you were better at it, I said. Damn right I was. He coughed, steadied himself against the elevator wall. Tyler, remember this. Every man's got something he's best at. Your grandpa's best at seeing the whole picture. I was best at fixing the details. You'll be best at something else. Figure out what that is, then do it better than anyone. Tyler nodded. Yes, sir. Dale looked at me, smiled. Not bad, this family business. Glad I came home. Me too, I said. June came warm and clear. Dale was still alive. Weaker every day, but alive. We held Tyler and Amy's wedding on the 15th. Small ceremony under the oak tree behind the farmhouse. Mavis catered, 20 people total. Dale sat in a wheelchair, oxygen tank beside him, watching his nephew marry a good woman. The preacher kept it short. Tyler and Amy said their vows, meant them, you could tell. When they kissed, Dale applauded, weak but determined. After the ceremony, we had dinner on folding tables in the yard. Mavis's pot roast. Ellen Nash came, brought her husband and kids. Sheriff Morrison came. Tom Aldridge came. The people who'd helped save the elevator. Dale ate a little, talked a little, told embarrassing stories about me as a kid, made everyone laugh. As the sun set, Tyler and Amy cut the cake. Dale raised his glass, water, not champagne, and gave a toast. To family, he said. The one you're born with and the one you choose. May they be the same. We drank to that. Dale died 3 weeks later, July 7th, early morning. Tyler found him in the small house, lying in bed, peaceful. Like he'd just gone to sleep and decided not to wake up. We buried him next to our father. Simple service. Didn't need much said. The people who knew him were there. That was enough. At the graveside, I put my hand on the casket. 43 years we'd been strangers. 4 months, we'd been brothers again. 4 months was enough. By August, life had found a rhythm. Tyler ran the elevator. I advised, when needed, stayed out of the way, when not. Mavis poured coffee every morning. The church ladies included me in their circles. The farmers treated me like I'd always been treated, with respect earned through decades of fair dealing. Linda became a story people told, a cautionary tale. The woman who threw away 44 years for a man who saw her as a means to an end. I didn't tell that story. Didn't need to. Some mornings I'd stand at the grain elevator window, watching the sun come up, watching Tyler move through the facility with the confidence of someone who belonged there, watching the grain flow through the augers, that mechanical music that had been the soundtrack of my life. My grandfather's elevator, my father's elevator, my elevator, Tyler's elevator now, 4 generations. Nearly 80 years, still standing. Blake Hutchins had tried to pave it over for a parking lot, failed. Linda had tried to steal it, failed. The elevator remained. Some things you don't get over. You just build something new next to them. The grief sits there, permanent. But so does the work. So does the legacy. So does the sunrise coming up over land your grandfather cleared with mules. I'd lost a wife. Kept a brother, at least for a while. Saved a legacy. Found a new routine. Wasn't the life I'd planned. But it was the life I had. And some days, that was enough. I'm 70 now. 3 years since that Friday morning in the farm office. 3 years since Linda signed away, 44 years. 3 years since Dale came home. Tyler and Amy have a daughter now. Little thing, just 8 months old. They bring her to the elevator sometimes. She reaches for the grain when Tyler pours samples, laughs at the sound of the augers. 5th generation. Maybe she'll run this place someday. Maybe not. Either way, she'll know where she comes from. I still have coffee at Mavis's diner every morning at 5. Still sit at the same stool. We're past 70 now, both of us. Talk less than we used to. Don't need to talk much. This morning, I'm standing at the grain elevator window. Dawn breaking over fields that are greening up with spring wheat. Tyler's down below with a farmer, discussing storage rates. His daughter's in the office behind me, asleep in a carrier, making those small sounds babies make. I think about my grandfather sometimes. How he cleared this land not knowing it would last 80 years. How he built this elevator not knowing 4 generations would run it. How he did the work anyway. I think about my father. How he made me sign that prenup, protecting me from something he couldn't name but knew was possible. How his wisdom lasted longer than his life. I think about Dale. How he came home dying, spent his last months saving the family business. How 30 years of anger dissolved in 4 months of brotherhood. I think about Linda, sometimes. Not often. Heard she moved to Arizona. Her sister died, left her a small inheritance. Enough to live on. I hope she's all right. Hope she found whatever she was looking for. Mostly I think about this. Dignity isn't about winning. It's about not accepting your own erasure. It's about standing up. When standing up costs everything, it's about protecting what matters. Even when what matters is just dirt and grain and corrugated steel that's been standing since 1947. Some losses prune away the rot. What grows back is stronger. The sun clears the horizon. Tyler finishes with the farmer, waves up at me. I wave back. Behind me, the baby stirs. I turn from the window, walk over, pick her up. She's warm and sleepy and smells like milk and innocence. You want to see where you come from? I ask her. She blinks at me with Dale's eyes, with my father's eyes, with eyes that might see this place standing for another 80 years. I carry her to the window, show her the elevator, the fields, the morning sun on land her great-great-great-grandfather cleared. This is yours, I tell her. If you want it, if you don't, that's all right too. But you should know it's here. You should know what it costs to keep it. She reaches for the window, small hand pressed against glass. Below us, the grain flows. That mechanical song, the sound of continuity, the sound of family work across generations. I stand there holding my great-granddaughter, watching Tyler work, listening to the augers hum. Some things you don't get over, but some things last anyway.